Helping Seniors Television, all about improving quality of life for seniors. If you're a senior, know a senior, or plan to be a senior, then this show is for you. It's all about helping you develop your own aging plan so you can age actively and with dignity. Helping Seniors Television from the Helping Seniors Network of information, education, and resources.
We did a radio show on this topic a couple of weeks ago, and I really was saying it's so bad that we were on radio because we couldn't show this little box. And so you've brought this box with you. But what I love about this is that we were talking about systems of how technology is going to help keep us safer at home when you can't necessarily have a full budget where you can bring in the home help that you would like to have. And so, like I was explaining, the problem was in our own family. My mother had a touch of dementia, and we'd gotten her one of those help I've fallen, I can't get up buttons, but she would roll out of bed but not remember to press the button, so nobody knew this had happened until the next morning. The brilliance of this is it takes that part of the decision-making out of the question. So I would love to have a round of applause for Gabriella Rosario, and then talk a little bit about what you guys do, but then talk about why this is such an important part of all this. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Carrie, for having us. Thank you. All righty. Well, we are Family Home Care of Central Florida. Yes, we are in Brevard County as well. We service the Orange, Osceola, Seminole, and of course, Brevard County. My name is Gabriella. I'm the director of business development. So I go and do what I like to call the living room visits, where I meet with the families and the clients to see what exactly you all need in regards to home care. And today we're here to talk about how we can help seniors live and be comfortable in their homes with just a little bit of assistance. So we are a locally owned company in Central Florida. We're based in Winter Park. But like I said, we do have caregivers out here in Brevard County, Seminole, and Osceola. As a home care agency, what we do is we curate care plans to help seniors stay in their homes. And some services that we can do is personal care services, companionship, light housekeeping, meal preparation, and medication reminders. Really, what we like to do is customize care plans. Not every client is going to have the same needs. So I meet with the families and the clients and see exactly what their routine would be and how we can just help and be that extra supporting hand. We do offer flexible scheduling. We always like to say we work for you. So we don't tell you, you need 40 hours a week to be a client of ours. If you need an hour a day, an hour a week, we will be flexible with that as well. And why we believe that aging in place is so important is because you're in your home, in your comfort zone, within your walls. And that just maintains emotional well-being, gives you that independence that you need. Maybe you don't need that full assisted living experience. So it's just a good helping hand and stepping stone to if you do need to be transferred into that assisted living facility. And we help with personalized routines. It can really be with whatever you guys need. We are there to help. However, we do know that not everyone thinks or wants home care. So we have invested in this technology, like Carrie was saying. It's just this little blue box, and it's called Virtually Family. So I will open it up. What this is just, it is AI. And these are little pods. If I can give this a bit. Okay. They're just little pods that we would put into your high traffic areas. So typically it's, your living room, your bathroom, your kitchen, depending on the size of the home. We'll put additional pods in. We have a router in here as well. And so what that does is it gets a baseline of your normal activity. And then once it sees a difference or a different pattern for you, you're going to the bathroom more times a day, it'll send me a notification and say, Mr. Jones might have a UTI. So it predicts that UTI. We're able to get your doctor or physician out there or get a visit scheduled for you to get tested because, as we know, UTIs can be a major setback. This also predicts falls. So like Carrie was saying, the buttons are always helpful, but not everyone can remember to press the button, especially during a fall. So this system and technology will notice or hear that fall and the cry for help, and will send an automatic message to our team. And then what we do is we contact the family, we get a care plan together as to what the next steps would be. And then we would send a caregiver out to make sure you're okay, or contact EMS. So this has been life-changing for our clients. It's a virtual caregiver. And it just helps us have someone additional help, have additional help for that person who doesn't feel comfortable having a stranger in their home, and has helped clients with COPD. If they're aspirating, we're able to detect that and make those necessary calls to EMS. So it's been really amazing. It's non-invasive, HIPAA compliant, so it helps us maintain the client's privacy, but also make sure that they're safe. So yes, so this is our program. You don't have to be a home care client. We can just provide this with you in your home. I go out, install it. It takes about 5 minutes. And then we get those care reports that we can send to you, to your family. And the cost is just $100 a month. So it really is cost effective. Your insurance will pay for it as well, depending on your insurance coverage. But it is a great alternative as well to home care. Yes.
What's the name of the product again, please?
It's called Virtually Family. Yes. No problem. And we have some brochures over there as well that I can give it to you. Yeah.
Do you have a wearable?
It's not wearable. So this just goes
You
into...
don't have one?
No.
Okay.
This just goes into your walls and will detect those falls. Yes. Is there any other questions?
I have a kind of a question or a conversation point that we ended up talking about on the radio, because one of the things that's fascinating is the monitoring that goes on with this. And I remember we talked about this on the radio because you said you had the ability to determine things or help because of patterns that the system comes up with, able to determine things that would help people get help earlier before there's an accident. So, like in particular, I heard you mention it already, but I thought the part about figuring out the UTIs or helping determine UTI before it became a full-blown problem is kind of interesting. And I always say this, that the technology is the absolute worst it's ever going to be, right? Because it's always developing. And so you've already seen this come forward. And when we were on the radio, she was able to show me on her app the kind of information that this system comes up with. And the thing that's beautiful about it is you plug it in the wall and you don't have to worry about it, right?
Right. So you would we would install it and you wouldn't even have to worry about it. There is the router, so you don't have to have Wi-Fi. It just kind of plug and play. And then within that same day, we're able to get those real-time notifications. We're not able to tap in, hear your conversations. It's only getting those clinical notes that we need to know. And it's even helped families who they have someone in an assisted living facility. They're not remembering to press that button. So we're able to get to them as soon as possible.
Question.
What if there's more than one person in the house?
What if there's more than one person in the house? I just want to make sure people on the video can hear it.
Absolutely. So what we do is part of that installation process, I'm putting how many people are in the house, if there's dogs, their symptoms or conditions. So the technology is very advancing every day, and we are able to determine the difference between like one spouse and another. So they would be able to detect and say, Mr. Jones fell, Mrs. Jones fell, and then we would call you accordingly.
That's a good question.
It's able to distinguish the difference.
You said with the that is we have a pattern that's much different than my pattern.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see that pattern to know if there is a UTI brewing?
That is a good question. And I believe that is probably something that is still, is probably a gray area, to be very honest, that specific thing. Typically, another detection is that they will audibly say there's some burning, irritation. So that's one of the things. But yes, if it comes to flushing the toilet and no auditory is surrounding that, probably a little bit more difficult to distinguish between the two.
That is a question. If Fido is running around the house, does that ever cause a false, or or is it smart enough to go, no, they've got a little yappy dog?
Sometimes we do get those. So I'll, make sure it gives us a little snippet of what's going on. So I'll be able to say, oh, that's their dog, So I won't sound the alarms then, but it's when I hear that cry for help or that fall that I am calling the families.
Would this contraption would it recognize an uninvited guest in the house?
We are not a security system.
Well, I thought it might double. It's a security system. I thought it'd be
potentially, but I have not seen that. That is a good question. I have not seen that yet. Yeah.
I do think, I think as we're talking about this, somebody made the question about, is it a wearable thing? Is it is there a bracelet or something like that? I would probably make the supposition that the cost of these items are very inexpensive. You guys all know Jennifer Barden, who has her company called Seniors Helping Seniors. She has a product called Electronic Caregiver. It's a bracelet system, and it's very inexpensive. So my argument is, why would you not do both, right? Because I think per bracelet is like $30, $35 a month, and your system is going to monitor the house, so it's going to be, if the person forgets they took it off when they took a shower or something else. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we would walk next door to where my mother was, and sure enough, that little pendant was sitting right there by the coffee machine, doing all the good in the world, right? So why wouldn't you put both of those things together? Because what we talk about, and it's interesting, we have a elder law attorney who just joined our board. Her name is Cheryl Ward, and she said one of the things that she feels is really important for us to talk about as helping seniors is staying safe from falls. Because I guess in her role as an elder law attorney, she's seeing how many times that precipitates the end, really. And if we can keep somebody safe from falling, we're going to be able to keep them safe in so many ways. And so I'm going anything that you could do that's going to help make that safe. What is $100 a month against that? Because when the idea, and I guess this probably started for you guys, is you already excel at doing what you do with home care, but most families' budgets are limited. And so how can I get more help around the clock?
Yes. And this also helps whenever a family is maybe, out of state. And so they don't really know what's going on in the homes. And they just think, maybe this is too much care. So it will determine where, that client is at, where the most care is needed. Are there medication errors? So maybe we can do pop-in visits and just help with the medication times. That in itself is huge. So just generating this care report for these families who maybe not even know what is going on is really, really important. And again, the falls is really the biggest thing that we've seen the most success at. Hearing about the falls, contacting the family. There's sometimes that clients will be on the floor for days and they're not able to reach that pendant or a cell phone. So just having this in, you don't even have to think about it, is really revolutionary.
But if they do fall, and if they do fall and you contact the family, it's what happens from there? I mean, for them to get them up off the floor. So is that when you need the bracelet to have the fire department? Because when my mom lived with me, we had the bracelet and the fire department would come and pick her up off the floor. So
it depends on the family's care plan or their emergency plan that they determine with us. So if they're living there, sometimes they want to know. I know you were sharing, sometimes you're right next door and you can't hear that family member fall. So if that's their determination, they want that call first, then we'll do that. But typically it is that call to 911 first. And we can make that call on the agency's behalf.
Yeah, the number one reason in this country why seniors are rushed back into an emergency room is falls. Every 11 seconds in this country, there's a senior that is rushed into an emergency room. I do talk to this, so every 19 minutes, there's a senior that actually passes away from a fall. And now these systems are great because I know of a similar one too. It's more preventive, not after they fall. It's like you're getting the reports ahead of time, so you know what kind of care this person may need, what's the risk of them falling, and being ahead of the game instead of behind the game, if that makes sense. And then the button would be more when it happens, you press the button and they come help you.
Right.
But that's a great system to have.
Thank you.
got
With the technology, what if the person also has an Apple Watch, which I know notifies if there's like he has tripped and it said, do we need to call 911? And if he doesn't respond, they call 911. How does that interact with?
I don't think that there's like a contingency on that. I would still encourage to have that. It would still, let us know about it. So yes, we would still call. I think preventative measures on both ends are great. And I do always recommend the Apple Watches to my clients. It's good, especially if they're outside of the house and there's that fall. Yeah. It's important. And I love the technology. It is scary, but I do think it's something we have to embrace, the technology, because it can help in everyone's situation.
Yeah, and I think maybe a point to also bring up is the fact that you guys, with your expertise in managing this, you're not having to like take this home, plug this up yourself, and then hope it works. They've got the experience, so you're there to not only help them fashion how it should operate once it's there, but you actually do all the setup. Am I saying that right?
Yes, you are. So I do go out, I do the installation, and then I'll also monitor, have that conversation with you all and say, where are you spending your most time? So if it's not in those common areas that I said in the beginning, the living room, bathroom, and bedroom, then we can alter that and put them in different places. Anywhere that there's an outlet, we're able to put this technology.
And I guess my last question for you is, because I think this is important, you don't sign a contract or something. It's not like you can do this a month at a time and see if it's working for you. Am I saying that right?
That is correct. Yeah. So we just have you all sign a service agreement to know that we are putting our technology there. It's really so that we can get the technology back if you just, want to do a month to month. Or if you don't see any benefit of it, we can always pick up the technology. But yes, it's not a contract. It can be 1 month to the other. But we do recommend having it for at least 6 months to get that, good care report and see if it's working for you.
And the last point that I remember we talked about this on the radio is you guys are working already with some assisted living facilities over in the Orlando area who are actually putting this in for their residents, because I guess even though you have staff, they're 24/7, stuff can happen behind that door and they still need to know about it.
Yes, many times in the independent or the assisted livings, they have a call time at 10 a.m. that they have to either call or press a button to just say, hey, everything's okay. But if there's a fall at night, that is really major. We don't want anyone staying on the floor or not being assisted. So we have partnered with a few assisted livings in Lake Mary and the Orlando area that they also have in every single room this technology. And it's able to help their concierge get to the client as soon as possible.
All right. Any other questions? I would encourage you to take a look at it. Gabriella, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
I'm Kerry Fink, Executive Director with the Helping Seniors of Brevard organization, and we'll have an opportunity today to talk to you a little about our president and founder, Joe Steckler. Joe, as you may remember, was a retired Navy captain. His last, among other things, while he was in the Navy, he commanded submarines. He worked in the Pentagon, but his last command in the Navy was he was in charge of the Navy's retirement home in Gulfport, Mississippi. And I kind of imagine that's probably what gave him a lifelong love for seniors, and feeling that even in his post-Navy service to our country career, he would want to do things that were going to be beneficial for seniors. So he and his lovely wife, Terry, they retired right here to the Space Coast. They wanted to be near the military base. At the time, it was the Air Force Base. Now it's the Space Force Base there in Patrick Air Force Base, or Patrick Space Force Base. And Joe couldn't stay retired. So shortly after getting here, he began his work on the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation. And to this day, does so much great service in our community. They operate what they call Joe's Clubs, 3 independent around the county daycare facilities for seniors. Joe retired from that and couldn't stay retired. That's when I had the privilege of meeting him as he was drawing up the plans to organize Helping Seniors of Brevard, a 501c3 that has now been serving Brevard County for literally 15 years now. When I first met Joe, he wandered in off the street. At those days, we owned a TV station building because we had a very good and successful
multimedia, Christian multimedia business. And Joe said, "What do you guys do here?" And I told him that we worked on everything from movies to television to radio. And he said, "I need some help. I'm forming an organization called Helping Seniors of Brevard. And the key point is," he said, "I love to do education. I think it's so important." He said, "I ran Brevard Alzheimer's for all those years and love working with families that are going through and helping them through with memory challenges. But," he said, "I realized some families deal with cognitive issues, but every family deals with aging issues." And he said, "I really feel like there needs to be another nonprofit that can do this work." And so that's how Helping Seniors of Brevard was organized. And it was designed to operate the county's senior information helpline, which last year took over 4,000 calls by itself. It's that free call at 321-473-7770. And then in addition to that, we now also operate we call it Joe's Senior Resource Center of Brevard. It's a 5,600 square foot facility right here in the beautiful Omni Medical Care building. It's called the Apollo Professional Tower at 1344 South Apollo Boulevard. But in addition to that, Helping Seniors has always been invested in bringing education to seniors. And that was one of the reasons that Joe said, "I need your help," all those years ago. He said, "I want to do TV, I want to do radio, I want to do articles. I want to make sure families are getting the information that they need so that they can make good aging decisions." Joe always called it an aging plan. We euphemistically call it getting your ducks in a row. But whatever you call it, it's important, and we want to be there as a service to all seniors and their families in Brevard and help them navigate senior issues. I always explain we were caregivers for our mothers, and thank God we had the ability to talk with Joe and Nancy and some of the great people in the Helping Seniors organization to be able to get some guidance along the way as different things would pop up, because you could consider yourself to be very smart and very good in your own race lane, if you will. But when it comes to some of these things, it's the first time many families hit these, and they really need help from an experienced voice that says, "Here's a couple of ideas. Let's focus in on that." So as you know, Joe was active in the Helping Seniors organization from its inception through his entire rest of his life. And one of the things that we were talking about, literally the last day that I talked to Joe, which was the day before he passed, he said, "Carrie," he said, "we've got to keep this going." He said, "The need for seniors is so great." And this is just how Joe's spirit was. He said, "Carrie," he said, and this was his precise words, "there's anything you can do to use my predicament," again, Joe's word, "my predicament, to help keep this going." He said, "I want you to tug at some heartstrings and get people to support the work of Helping Seniors." He said, "It's so important." We were trying to find the right balance of how do we honor Joe? How do we do what he asked us to do, which is to make sure that we organize funding for the organization and think about the future of Helping Seniors so that we can keep Joe's vision moving forward. So we came up with a term called Friend of Joe. If you know Joe or ever had the pleasure of meeting him, he was like the best friend a senior could ever have. He was a fierce advocate on their behalf. He was a kind soul about understanding the things that seniors would go through. I remember him saying, "Carrie, getting old isn't easy. It's not for the faint of heart." And he was always a friend with a kind word for our seniors in Brevard County, wherever they were, and regardless of the situation that they were facing. And so we came up with Friend of Joe as for those of you that would like to join us in honoring Joe. Here's how the program works. We're asking you to join the Friend of Joe Honor Roll. So this is the thing that we're doing where we want you to stand alongside with those of us in the Helping Seniors organization who have made the same donation. We're asking for a $200 donation into adding your name to the Helping Seniors Honor Roll. You can do it anonymously if you'd like, but Joe had so many friends, it's really fun to list the names out and some of the kind thoughts that people are sharing with us. There's already been dozens of people who are joining Joe's Friend of Joe Honor Roll. At the end of the year, we're hoping that we're going to have a very, very big section of our Helping Seniors News, which, as you know, we publish center section of the Senior Scene magazine each month. We're going to devote a page or two, or hopefully maybe more than that, depending on how many folks join us in Friend of Joe's, to each person that's given along with their remembrance for Joe. So that's going to be a way to signify your support of everything Helping Seniors is doing and to honor all the work that Joe did in our community. And in addition to that, of course, we will add you right away. We have a page on the Helping Seniors website. If you go to it, you'll see it on the screen here, helpingseniorsofbrevard.org/friend of Joe. And if you go to that, you'll see the people who are already contributing and remembrance notes that they want left for Joe. Most of the notes are just wonderful. They remember how much Joe meant to them at various points in their life. Maybe it was somebody that they became acquainted with through the services of the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation. Many are the people who Joe has reached through all the work that we've done together here at Helping Seniors of Brevard. And on top of that, we're just finding a lot of people who really just want to say, let's keep this going. Please, we want to support this and keep this going. And we are grateful for each and every donation. People think it's easy to have a nonprofit, that there's just grants, there's all kinds of money that flows down. Nothing could be further from the truth. I remember Joe saying he thought it was tougher than running a business, because to be able to provide the services you provide in the community, which are free to those who get them, you have to have people who are willing to help you fund the cost to make it happen for those people. So that's why we exist at Helping Seniors of Brevard. I want to give you a couple of ways to get involved in the Friend of Joe program. First, you can give us a call, 321-473-7770. I'm going to say the number again. It's a great number to keep in mind because it is actually also the Helping Seniors helpline. So again, like 4,000 plus families made use of that number last year. We are here to serve you any way we can. But if you'd like to join Friends of Joe, just call 1-321-473-7770, and Karen or one of our great volunteers will be happy to get you signed up with all that. You can also go directly to helpingseniorsofbrevard.org, and you'll see a place that you can sign up right there on the homepage. We encourage you to do that. You can do it safely and securely by credit card. If you would like to mail in a donation, maybe you still use checks, and that's a good way for you to do it. Please, by all means, send us a check. You'll see our P.O. Box information right here on the screen. That gets it directly into our secure P.O. Box, and we will be so grateful for your willingness to be a friend of Joe and help keep the work of helping seniors going forward.
I'm Joe Steckler. Thank you for joining our program today. I'd like to remind you that our senior information line is available to you at 321-473-7770. There you can get help and direction that could be helpful for your specific situation or circumstances. The work of helping seniors is very important, but we can't do it alone. That is why our sponsors here in Brevard County are so important. I'd like to thank our many area sponsors, businesses, and medical providers who support the mission of helping seniors that help us carry the cost of our media efforts. If you'd like to join us either as a business partner or simply donate as an individual, we welcome your call at 321-473-7770. You are always welcome to visit our website at www.helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. Thanks so much for your help. It does make a difference.